are you doing? I hope you're really well. Here I am with the next musing video, which is on why do I see a certain word, name, or set of numbers everywhere I go. I've got 4 reasons why I find these this happening. Now there may be many more, but these are the 4 ones that I think are the most significant and the ones that I've found to be true for me. So here we go. The first one is that certain words or numbers may have a meaning in themselves. By this I mean that you might see 1111, 222, 55, and it might be worth you actually looking up, what does 555 mean? What does 111 mean? And the various options with regards to that. So you can look at numerology. I use Doreen Virtue angel numbers. If you just type it in online, I look on her website for that. You might also find that a word occurs all over the place wherever you go. I had this experience with the word, believe it or not, jelly. And I actually looked it up in a dream dictionary, and it really correlated to what was going on in my life. So I would highly recommend that, looking it up if that occurs for you. Now, there are loads of different interpretations of dreams. So what I do is when I'm going to look up a meaning of a word, because it's coming up in my life a lot, I pray that I'm guided to the right meaning. Okay, so sometimes I'll be drawn to look in a specific book, sometimes I'll be drawn to look on a particular website. The second point is that it may just be pointing out to you where your subconscious energy is going. Remember that our minds filter out, is it about 90% of everything we see? So your brain, your mind is cued to look for things that you see as significant. So for example, if your divine partner is called Chris, you may see Chris 20 times in one day. You may also have seen the name Tim, but because the name Tim means nothing to you, you haven't become consciously aware of it. So that's the second reason. It's that your mind is already looking for those cues. And actually, it's not that you've necessarily seen that word or that name or whatever more than, say, you would see another one, but just that you are so, your mind is so conscious of it that you are very aware of it. The third possibility is that it's a signal from your guide team, from guidance, from source, about what you were thinking. So for example, the other day I was driving along in a car. I wasn't driving, I was just sort of in my own little world, and things were, you know, just peacefully going through me, and I was sort of subconsciously, semi-consciously considering a change that I was going to make in my life. And out of nowhere almost, I suddenly started and looked out the window, and there was a gatepost with 555 written on it. So this was a signal from my guide team about what I was thinking, and I knew that very much in my core, that I'd been alerted to look out the window to see just at that very second. If I'd looked a second before or a second after, I wouldn't have seen it. So it's the numbers or the word or whatever, or the name, is there for you to indicate that something, a positive, or to indicate some sort of communication about the thought that you were thinking at the moment you saw the signal. So that is another possibility. The fourth thing is that it alerts you to something that you need to do, you need to heal, or you need to clear. So for example, it might be that everywhere you go everywhere you've been in the last 2 or 3 days, you see people running, people talking about running, you meet someone called Christian runner. You know what I mean? You see a key ring with someone running on it, you know, and it's because it's your source and your guide team trying to tell you that you maybe need to take up running. It doesn't have to be something outside of you that you need to do, or that somebody you need to speak to. It might be that it's something within you that needs to heal. It might be that you've had a disagreement with somebody, and that everywhere you go, you're reminded of this disagreement in one way or another. It might be that you need to go and have a conversation with that person or apologise, but it might be that actually you just need to do some internal forgiveness or of yourself or the other person, or you just need to heal that wound in some way. Okay, so they're the 4 reasons. Now, the thing that you want to do most of all is notice what's going on at the core of you when you get this signal, when you get this symbol. What is at the core of you? Just be aware with this, because sometimes it will be difficult to know which one of the 4 it is, but remember that inner wisdom always knows. So listen to that still quiet core of you. What is it? You know, which one of the 4 is it? Be careful here, because it's very easy to jump to a conclusion about something that you want to be the case rather than what is actually the case. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example of that. Once when I had broken up with a partner and I thought this person was the one for me, I absolutely adored him, I thought he's the person for me, he wasn't, but I really absolutely with every bit of my being believed it, and everywhere I went I saw his name. And I truly believed, particularly after a few days, I meant to reach out to this person, and it didn't happen once, it happened on several occasions. So then I would reach out to him and I would get rebuffed, and it was painful and it was humiliating or upsetting or whatever, and it was really horrible, and then I would feel really cross with myself. And it was confusing, and it just dragged it all up, and it was very emotional and very tricky. Okay, now the thing is, I genuinely believed that it was what I was supposed to do, but I wasn't listening to my core. If I'd listened to my core, I would have known that wasn't true, but I wanted it to be true. I wanted it to be, oh, if I reach out to him, he's going to say, oh, I love you. What was I thinking? I'm so glad you came back to me. You know, that was what I wanted to hear, but it wasn't the case. You know, it wasn't true. So just be aware of that. Just be careful of that. The reality was, for me, it may be different for you, but the reality for me in that situation was that it was a little bit of number 2 and a little bit of number 4. It was a little bit of number 2 because of the fact that I was so in love with this guy and I was so convinced he was the one for me that I was really like totally turned on to looking for any signs to do with him. So that was a bit of number 2. And a bit of number 4, I was in so much pain, it had hurt me so much that I needed to heal that wound. And so when I kept seeing his name, it was just as much an indication of my mental obsession and as much about my heart's pain, and it was my heart calling out that this let's just call him Bob, this Bob-sized hole in my heart needed to be filled. Do you see what I mean? So do be aware of that, that it can feel, we can want it to be one reason, but it doesn't necessarily mean it is the reason why we're getting these signals. Now, don't get me wrong. You may see a divine lover's name everywhere, and it might be an indication that, do you know what, you need to reach out to that person. That person's ready to hear from you, but they're not brave enough to reach out to you. That could be totally true as well. I'm not saying it isn't possible, but do listen to that core of you. Do be guided by that core. The point is that we've got some sort of indication from our guidance from source, and we're wanting to interpret it correctly, and actually the core of us always knows the truth. So really sit quietly and listen to that core, and hopefully you will be guided to the right one. And do you know what, if you're not, never mind, we live and learn. I survived it, you know, I got over it. So you know, whatever, if you do misinterpret a sign, that's absolutely fine, you know, and next time you will possibly interpret the signs better. We're all just learning here, so don't be hard on yourself. That's the most important thing. Guys, I hope you have a beautiful week, and I'll see you on the next video. Mwah.